What's good, YouTube? Nobody here. Welcome back for episode 5 of the survival tutorial. Due to overwhelming support for this series over the last few days, I've decided to go ahead and make 2 videos per week. The new release schedule will be Thursday and Sunday every week at 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to make certain that you're one of the first people to catch the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification next to it. In this episode, we're going to work on power generation and a small grid mining ship. So we have an issue to where we don't have enough power generation for our base now because we've stepped up our production quite a bit. So the first thing that I want to do today is go ahead and run over here and get the ice drilling platform ready to go so we can actually make some hydrogen generators. So the first thing that we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to think about getting together a large cargo container. That way we've got somewhere to store all of it. And we also need, let's see, we're going to need a hydrogen generator, or engine, sorry. And we are going to need a hydrogen tank, which I already have down here. And we're going to need H2O2 generators for this. So this is the time you generally want to start thinking about power generation, usually after you get your refineries and stuff upgraded. Alright, so here we go. We need a large cargo container here, and we're gonna need to grab up 2 O2H2 generators. The reason why we need 2 is because each one of these only does about half of what is necessary in order to run a hydrogen engine. And we're going to be running a hydrogen engine as well. So I'm going to go ahead and place this, looking very carefully to see where the things line up. So we're going to have to lay it down like this. There we go. That'll work just fine. And then we're going to need a hydrogen tank as well. Now, the hydrogen tank is necessary. However, if you do not want to build one of the big ones quite yet, you can always build the smaller hydrogen tank that is located right here. This is with the new release that they just did. I don't know if it's on Xbox yet or not, so that's pre-warning. That block may not be available to everyone, but if not, just go ahead and make the larger tank and it will definitely work. So once we get all of this built, we will actually have extra power generation. We're just going to need some drills to go with it. So let me go ahead and grab some conveyors here, because we're going to need conveyors to run some drills. And we're going to do the same exact thing that we did over here with the 2 pistons, so we can drill straight down into the ice over there. But I am going to do this one slightly different here. I'm going to go ahead and run it from up top just to save on materials here, because we do have the porthole right there. And let's see, I'm gonna have to aim this out right, so let's couple. If you notice the weirdness going on down here, the problem was I actually recorded this entire thing and the audio was not working. For some reason it was not picking up my mic. I have no idea why. It just started working after I reloaded everything, so I'm not sure what the deal was there. Unfortunately, I lost all of that footage, so I had to basically come back in and use creative mode to get rid of a bunch of stuff so we could redo this. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to need is pistons. And we're also going to need drills as well. There we go, and go ahead and place these down, just like we did before. And I'm going to go ahead and weld all of this stuff up and get back with you once it's done. Now, something of note here, I'm actually using my controller. You can use the mouse and the controller for this. If you actually do not want to sit here and hold the mouse button down or the controller button down while you are welding, all you have to do is double tap it and it will lock in, and then just tap it again to unlock it. Okay, we now have all of this built. So it is gonna be about time to go ahead and start drilling up some of this ice here. We're gonna need the ice in order to power the generator. So let's go ahead and find these pistons here. Now, this is actually something that is very useful to know. You notice how we've got the yellow and green and orange colors going on here? That means it's attached to another grid. So that means it's either through a piston or a rotor or something like that, or a connector. So the easy way to find which pistons these are over here, they should be the two that are color, or actually that would not be correct. Let's see, let me rename, because one of them is through this piston. So this one right here needs to be renamed to something that we can find easily. So let's go ahead and rename that just so we can group this up. I'm going to teach you how to group everything up. I don't remember if I have yet. Okay, so piston and piston second we need to group into ice pistons. And I'm going to need one for the ice drills as well, but we're not done with the drills quite yet, so we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to turn these on all manually and change this to here just to have a naming convention so we know which ones to do. And I'm also going to have to share inertial tensor on these. Actually, one way to tell these would just be to do this. These are all colored the same because they're attached to the same piston. So there we go. We can just turn them on. There we go. And we will extend the piston now. I'm going to set these to 0.1 and start drilling up some of the ice. Now, one of these will not give enough for an engine. However, two of them will give us a little bit more than one engine uses, so it'll actually start filling up the tank here, which is good. And it will go through the tank first. It won't work without a tank of some sort. Just remember that. Okay, we're going to have to jump start this engine in just a second. For some reason, you have to turn them on and back, or off and back on again sometimes before they start filling up like they're supposed to. But this will slowly fill up and then it'll start filling the tank up with hydrogen. We might as well add an, well, we don't need an oxygen storage here. If this was space, I would, but this is not space. We don't need oxygen. So we're just going to let that run and start filling that up and charging these batteries up real quick. Let's see how the batteries are doing. Fully recharged in 40 minutes. That's much better than 3 hours. Okay, so we're going to let those run for a little while. We should have, I believe, 5 megawatts coming out of the engine. Close to it, yeah. That'll actually, as this increases, it'll increase the output as well, so we're fine with that. Now that we've got that done, it's time to start thinking about picking up. We're getting pretty low on rock resource here, and I don't want to do that today. I don't want to fix the drills up today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and design our first little ship. I know somebody was asking me about that in the comments last week, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. So the first thing we need to do is a landing gear here. So let's see, we got a landing gear, yeah. Now the trick with the landing gears is, once I get some steel plate here, the trick with the landing gear is that, there we go. You notice how the big landing gear is right here? This is how you, one way that you can build a, there's 3 different ways we can build a small grid onto a large grid, and I'm going to end up showing you all 3 ways before it's over with, but we're going to start with this way to begin with. Okay, so all you have to do is drop the landing gear by lining it up on the ground, hitting the landing gear button again to make the smaller one, and then just drop it and it'll automatically connect, whether it's built or not. Alright, so now that that's done, we now have a small grid that we can work with here. So I'm going to need battery. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need here is we're going to need a medium cargo container. And we're going to line this up a specific way here. I want the big access point on the bottom and one of the small access points in the front. The reason why is because we're going to be putting a drill in the front here. So we're just going to drop the drill right there on that access point. And we're going to put a connector down on the very bottom. So that's why we do it that way. Now, the next thing we're going to need, we're definitely going to need a battery. So I'm going to put this on the back here, just like that. And we can put more than one battery if we decide, but we should be good with one battery at the moment. And we are going to need a seat. I'm not going to go with the expensive flight seat. I'm going to, or the cockpit, because this is a very, very small vehicle and we don't want to overweight it. So we're just going to put a seat on the back, and we are going to need a remote. If you're worried about weight, a seat and a remote would be probably your best bet, because they don't weigh nearly as much as everything else. And we just need to figure where we're going to put the remote. We need it to face forward. So remember, it has to pretty much face just like the icon, just like before. So I'm going to sit the remote right there. And we're going to need some thrusters and gyros. So let's go on and grab the gyroscope. I'm going to sit that right there. And the thruster. We're going to need quite a few of these, so let's go ahead, and I want to put about 6 facing down. That way we've got plenty of downward thrust. I want to put one back here facing in either direction, and we're going to need one facing forward and one facing back. Now, here is the issue with this. We've got to be very careful about what we put. We can't put anything under these thrusters because they'll cook each other if we do. So we've got one facing each side. So we're going to put the forward facing one here. And we're going to put a reverse facing one on this side. And that should work out just fine. We're not really going to have any forward or backward thrust. And we're not going to have much maneuverability. But this is just trying to make the most simple setup that we can, and I think this is about it. So I'm going to go ahead and weld all this up for you, and I'll be right back. Also, while I'm thinking about it, you can actually recharge your hydrogen bottle from here as well. You just have to find either the H2O2 generators or the hydrogen tank. Either one would work. You just place it in there and make sure it's on auto refill. So let's go for the hydrogen tank and set it on auto refill here. And it should fill the tank up for you, or the bottle. Okay, apparently it doesn't have any in it, so that's fine. We'll just put it in one of the generators. The engine hasn't filled up yet. Now, if you want to cut the engine off and save some back up into the tank, that's perfectly acceptable too. That'll work just fine. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of this welded up, it's time to put a connector on here. I'm going to put the connector on the bottom. So the way we're going to do this is we're just going to crouch. I hit the C button. I'm not sure what the button is on the Xbox controller. I think it would be B. Let me look. Yeah, it's B on the Xbox controller. And then just chop that away, and it'll automatically take care of itself. As long as you haven't cut anything off, it'll be fine. So we hop into the seat and we hit K to bring up the remote control. And then we go to the remote control down to control, and we just hit that, and boom, we have complete control over the ship. And hit F twice to get out. And now we just need to put a connector on the bottom. And we're going to need a connector on the base as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get these done, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so that's done. Now, the reason why we couldn't use this connector over here, and why we didn't place the stuff differently for the connector, is if you remember, we have this sorter here. And the sorter only lets things go through one way. So if we wanted to bring rock off of the ship, we couldn't just drag it into the base off the ship because the sorter wouldn't allow that. Also, in the last episode, I actually said that there wasn't a connector or a control panel here on the sorter, and I was incorrect. There is one. It was just hiding from me. I didn't see it at the time. So there's two. There's one on either side here. Thank you for that comment. And now we're just going to hop in the ship and we are going to go control it and send it on over to start charging batteries. Now the way to land this is to use your Alt key and move your mouse around, or you can use your top right trigger on your controller and move the right joystick around, and it'll allow you to change your view. And you're gonna have to line it up a couple times before you get to where you can land. Move it around a little bit here and there. Now landing at night is not opportune, so once you get close enough, it'll lock into yellow here, and then you can park into it. But I do not recommend using the P button for that. I recommend hitting your G key, bringing up your connector here, dragging it down to your bar, and put switch lock here. The reason for that is later on, if you're not careful, you can accidentally undock everything from your base, and that could be catastrophic. And one thing we do need here is lights. I'm going to go ahead and do lights at night and let the batteries charge up while we're waiting. Okay, so now that I've got lights, you notice that they're really dim right now. This is the natural state of the lights. So if you come over to a control panel here and you look up lights, you can actually change all the brightness and radius of the light. I like to just bring the radius up and leave the intensity where it's at. The fall off basically shows how quickly the light falls off. Each one of them does a different thing. Play around with that, figure out which one you personally like. The offset, it's not really a good idea. I can't really think of a reason to use that unless you kind of want to hide the lights or whatever, or move the way that they look, move where they look like they're from. And you can also set them up to blink just like is on your landing pod. And you can set your color as well. We're just going to leave these as white, set the radius to 10 and leave them like that. That way we've got a nice bright little area over here so we can see everything that's going on. That way if we're far away from the base at night, we can still see it as well. Okay, so we've got about an hour for a full charge on this battery and 28 minutes left on a full charge on the other batteries. So I'm going to leave this to charge for a little while during the nighttime, and then during daytime we'll take this out for the maiden voyage. I'm also taking the time while I'm waiting on this to charge up overnight to go ahead and group up all of my things like the assemblers and the refineries and all of that stuff, and just basically working on grouping them all up and hiding them in the terminal. That way they don't show up in my list here, and I can grab each one of them by group if I want to. If I need to work with them. It's a good idea to go ahead as soon as you think about it and start naming everything and just organizing it so it's not all over the place. Alright, it seems like we're running seriously low on iron here, so I'm gonna actually do something a little different here. I'm going to get rid of these drills that we have currently, just so we can get more stone. I will be changing this entire thing up in the next episode, but I'm just going to go ahead and start drilling some of the stuff that we need to drill out for what we're going to be doing while we're waiting on the nighttime to come. So I'll get with you when that's done and explain what I did. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, now that we've removed the drills, we're going to use this to actually drill out areas so we can extend the drills to be wider here. So let me go ahead and get these two things queued up here and get this advanced rotor built, not regular rotor, an advanced rotor. I'll explain the difference once I get it built and can show you. Okay, so here we go. So the difference between a rotor and an advanced rotor is an advanced rotor actually has a cargo pass through on it, where a regular rotor does not. That's the main difference. So we needed one with the cargo pass through specifically because of what we're going to do. I'm going to need some conveyor. This is going to take basically building and unbuilding a couple times to get this done. So let me go ahead and grab a few of the things that I need here. Okay, so now I've got it set up. I just basically put this on a 90-degree curve here and put a drill in here. So I'm just going to spin this drill around and start drilling out this way so we can open up room for more drills, is all I'm doing here. So we're going to turn the drill on, and then we're going to control this rotor here. Now, rotors are a little bit strange. They can cause some troubles as well, so be careful using too many rotors. It's never a good idea to use too many. So we're going to find the advanced rotor here, and we are going to share inertial tensor, and then all I'm going to do is turn the velocity to 0.1, and it'll start spinning around. And as it spins, it'll start drilling everything out. Now, one thing I'm having to be careful with here is the fact that we're trying to drill out a little more than we should be. So I'm actually having to sit here with my drill and right-click drill as we go just to make sure it doesn't get blocked, because it's not completely even through here, so be aware of that. Okay, so it is now daytime and the batteries are fully charged according to what they were saying. So let's go ahead and hop in here and control the remote control here. I did add... Sorry, it's so loud. I did add another set of hydrogen engine stuff over there just to make sure that we had enough power output. There is one thing that I need to worry about here. So let me hop out of here. I forgot to put a detector on here, and I definitely need that. So it's not 100% necessary, but it is a mining vehicle. I don't see the point in having a mining vehicle without one. And I will also show you what we did over there with the... I'm just going to sit it right there. I'm going to show you what we did over there with the drills. Okay, so basically all I did was spun around with the drill like this and opened it up. I'm just letting it run through and grab whatever while I'm busy doing what I'm doing. And we're just going to keep lowering it down until we've got enough room for another layer of drills. And that way we can start digging in towards the outside there. You'll see what I'm doing with that in the next episode. So see, go ahead and grab the remote control here. Oh, now whenever you make a detector, I don't think it's the small detectors that... Yeah, okay, so whenever you make a detector, you want to check the range here, because it usually starts out at half range. I don't know why, so I'm just going to go ahead and extend the range to 50 here. And now we actually have the ability to see all of the ore and stuff around us within 50 yards. Okay, so we're going to be running a little bit low on battery power here, so we're going to have to do something about that. Is there anywhere that I can add another battery here? Let me look. I mean, I could add another battery, maybe on top here. All I have to do is move this over and this over. Oh, before I do that, I want to show you what shows you about the battery. Sorry about that. I almost forgot about that. So if you hit control, so you notice we're at 90% on the energy on the lower right hand corner there as we hit the space bar to move up. That means that we're pretty much maxing out our battery. So if we go forward and space, you notice it shows red. We just don't quite have enough power to deal with all of that. So that's why we need new batteries, or an extra battery. One more battery should be enough. It's the number of thrusters that we have. So basically what would happen in this situation is we started filling up the ship at all, we'd run into power issues and we'd have power failure, and that would be pretty catastrophic. We'd drop pretty much straight to the ground here. So I'm going to go ahead and land again and take off the seat. Move it forward one step. That's not going to work. Well, yeah, we can work that. It's going to look funny, but this is just not the biggest deal. And just put another battery right behind the seat here. Alright, so we are good now. Get back into the remote control and undock. Now, once I get up a little bit, I'm going to do a test. You want to drive in 3 different directions. Say forward, pick a side, and then space at the same time. And see if you max out. If you don't, you should be good, which I didn't. I only hit 60. So we're going to fly around and look for a deposit. Now, we do have... what we're going to need the most of right now, I think some silver is something that we're definitely going to need here. So we're going to go grab some silver so I can show you how to do this. We have some pretty close by here. This guy is... you got to be careful flying this guy because he doesn't have a lot of correctional thrust. So you want to try to keep it as level as possible while you're working. And there is a special way to do that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to add this drill onto our bar. So I'm just going to hit G and drag the drill all the way down to the bar here. And you can do toggle block on and off. Now, what this is going to do is just turn it on. That's not what we want to do right now. We want to have complete control over it most of the time. So I like to put the turn on off and go into the block tools here and drag the drill from there as well. That way, that'll give you left and right click control, so you can choose whether to left or right click drill with it, or you can just turn it on and off. So we're going to run with number 2 here, and we're going to right click drill, and we're just going to move down while we're doing that. And we're going to kind of spin as we go, but keeping it very level. This is very tedious. It's going to take us a while to get down to the gold. But we're just going to spin as we go, trying to make sure it stays level. Drilling the initial pilot hole is the hardest part in this thing. But once you've got a pilot hole drilled, you can actually fill up your cargo pretty quickly and get plenty of material. So this is actually worth it. A lot more worth it than drilling by hand. In fact, that's gold. We don't want the gold. We want the silver at the moment. The reason I want the silver is for the upgraded tools. And there's usually silver attached to gold underground. So that's what we're looking for. Yep, there's the silver. I saw some in... okay, there we go. So we're going to get as close to above it as we can. And we're going to start drilling down this way. Now, that's one way you can do it. You could also, if you felt like it, you could go at a slight incline, but I don't recommend that in this ship. So I'm just going to do the spinny drill down, and I'll catch up with you when I'm done, because this is going to take me a while. Okay, so I believe I've gotten close enough to the silver. I've dug around to where it's at, and down a little bit. I did not mean to do that. Sorry about that. And I want to get about level with it if I can, and then just dig my way straight to it. But leave myself plenty of room to move around. So I'm going to basically go side by side up a little bit and just dig out a nice little sized area here. Still right click drilling, by the way. And just start drilling out a tunnel towards the silver here. Yes, we have silver. Good. So I'm just going to open up this area around the silver. It doesn't matter if you lose a little bit due to right click drilling, because there's so much of it. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Now, one thing I do want to do is I want to make sure that I can reach the bottom of the silver here with my drill. So yeah, I can. And I've stopped drilling, and now I'm just going to left click drill in the silver specifically. And I do believe we should be picking up some stone with this if we're not careful. So just remember, you will have some stone with you. There are ways around that. We can cover that one in the next episode when we start working on the bigger drill. Okay, so we filled up the medium cargo container, and we have the connector here, or the passenger seat will not fill up. It's not connected, but we can also fill up the drill too if we have enough thrust, which I do believe we do. So we're going to go ahead and do all of that. We're just going to see how far we can fill it up. If you look down on the lower right hand corner of my screen here, you can see that that number, the kilograms number, keeps going up. When that stops going up, it means you're full. Like now. So if we look, we're full in the cargo container, the drill, and the connector. And we still are not maxed out. Good. That's perfect, actually. That means we've got enough downward thrust. We just need to be very careful coming out of here. So I'm just gonna kind of maneuver a little bit. Try not to bump into anything, because you know it will explode your ship and it will cause major issues. So be very careful when flying. Better safe than sorry. And try not to come into the base too hot either. We do not have the thrusters to handle a quick stop. So I'm keeping it below, somewhere close to 20 meters per second coming into the base since I'm so close. And by special request from Rando Games, I've decided to go ahead and give a quick tutorial on how to get the controller to work in the game if you're on a PC. So what you need to do is you need to go into your options here and you click on the controls, and then under controllers, controller selection is actually disabled by default. So you just click controller Xbox One for Windows, and boom, your controller should work. If that doesn't work, let me know in the comments and we'll try to fix it. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. How about dropping a like to let me know that you did? Also, if you haven't already, please think about helping us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, click one of the videos on your screen now. Thank you. Have a nice day.